When it comes to learning difficulties like dyslexia, lasting change starts with the right approach. At the Morris Center, we go beyond traditional tutoring, offering comprehensive, evidence-based programs that retrain the brain for lifelong success. With over 35 years of experience, we've helped thousands of clients overcome learning challenges in just months, not years. Find out how we can help your child succeed at themorriscenter.com.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at mediaangels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Let's face it, we all have marriage arguments from time to time. Yet, there's a correct way to argue. Can you both be winners? Yes. Let's win at marriage and make it a blessed place for you, your spouse, and especially your children. Welcome, friends. My name is Felice Gerwitz, and today our episode is Marriage Arguments You Can Win. This is episode 549, and you can find today's show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Would you do me a favor? Would you share this episode with a friend? You can either share the link to the podcast, or you can tell them about Vintage Homeschool Moms, and they can find it on their favorite podcast app, or they can listen on the website. And give me a star rating. Thanks so much. Why do we argue? We may disagree for many reasons, and sadly, we hurt the ones we love the most. And why is this? It's because we care. We wouldn't be so hurt if we didn't care for each other. Think about this. Often marriage arguments can be prevented, and the worst ones are those that are in front of the kids or other people. Be mindful of your children and set a good example when discussing differences with your spouse. The kids don't need to hear yelling and slandering, and it does make an impression on them. In any of the parenting courses that I have taught, the first thing I say is, our kids always pick up our bad habits, don't they? The reason for that may be that we're exhibiting those habits the most. It's things to think about, especially when we argue. When we argue, we often are trying to make a point. I'm right and you're wrong. Ultimately, one of us is going to be unhappy, and when we're not right, it makes it even harder, especially if we dug in. When I was a new bride, I read something that said you should never go to bed angry, and I loved that idea. Wouldn't it be wonderful to always go to bed happy? So my poor husband would have to stay up all hours of the night discussing our issues, and he's very stubborn. And I kept saying, I want to discuss this so we're on the same page and this never happens again, as if we could always conquer every single argument that could possibly have come up. But my younger self didn't realize that. And yes, we got nowhere. Finally exhausted, he would say, okay, you're right. Can I go to bed now? I realized something had to change, and fast. This was not working. So I figured out a way that it would work better, and my husband and I sat down and figured it out together. When we think about winning an argument in the context of marriage, it can quickly become misunderstood and, by the true-to-life example I gave you, detrimental to a relationship in the long run. Our focus shouldn't be on winning, but more on understanding each other's positions and putting ourselves in our spouse's shoes. We have to acknowledge their feelings, and when we understand that the person we love is hurting, it demonstrates that you understand and care, and that helps you de-escalate the situation. You can say the following, I understand you're upset. Then you can ask, can we discuss this calmly? If not now, when you're ready. because that's one of the things that we both agreed on. We were not going to be sitting there screaming at each other, because that was going to just result in hurt feelings. So if we were too upset, we could say, all right, we'll talk about this in a minute. Or we would say something like, I love you and I'd like to discuss the situation calmly. Can we both do that? We'd have to acknowledge that we could. Acknowledging each other's feelings is the first step, and it can de-escalate the situation. Being calm is equally important. As we become upset, our voices rise, and soon you're yelling at each other. So take a deep breath before you start yelling and say something like, I need a minute. Screaming at each other never works. I remember talking to a young couple, and there were already mother-in-law issues. And the young man rightly loved his mom, and he wanted to protect her. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell my mom this situation. And she was really hurt because she was thinking that he was siding with his mom. And he said, I'm not siding with my mom, but I can't tell my mom this situation or it's going to be really hurtful to her. And so I knew just how this young girl felt. And my husband and I had had this discussion once before. And so he said to the young man, he said, well, how about that you understand where your fiancé is coming from, because this couple wasn't married yet. And he said, oh, of course I understand. This can be very upsetting, and I'm with you 100% on that. I just can't confront my mother over this situation. And so this young girl, I could just see her visibly sigh, and she gave him a hug. That's really all she wanted. She knew that her future mother-in-law was pretty set in her ways, and that's all she wanted, was someone to say, I understand. Your situation may be different, and maybe it's something that isn't anything that can be changed. And in their situation, that's how it was. When we discuss the situation, be mindful of each other's body positions. Don't sit there with your arms folded and your teeth clenched. Look at each other and be mindful of each other. Look into each other's arms. Don't have your body angled away or your arms crossed, as I said. This leads to a signal that you're not open to discussion. And maybe you're not at that minute and you need to calm down. My husband and I had our do's and don'ts. No profanity, no character assassination, and no accusations. Keep it to, I feel. Listen to each other, and you can offer to go first and then let your spouse go first. Allow the person to talk without interrupting. Now that, my friends, is the hardest thing for me because I always want to interrupt. But do try to listen and find common ground if it is at all possible. When it's your turn to talk, express your feelings without attacking or belittling the other person. Remember, no character assassination. No, you're stupid. You're so dumb. I can't believe, you would do something like that. So those are the taboo words, dumb, stupid, or using profanity. Use the I word as much as you can. I feel or I think. If that young girl had said to her fiancé, I feel like you don't care how I feel, and you are more concerned with your mother's feelings over mine, then he would have jumped in there and said, absolutely not. I totally agree with your position. I just don't want to confront my mother about this. And it was something that was minor and would be okay. Also, try not to blame. For example, saying, well, you always do this, or you don't care. Again, keep it to I as much as you can, because you really don't know what the other person is thinking. We're projecting our feelings on them. You know what you think. You know what your feelings are, and you can only guess at what your spouse is feeling or his motivation. Also, give each other space, but don't use it as a delay tactic from discussing the difficult things. Can we talk in about an hour or less rather than saying things I might regret? But it's okay to say, I love you, but I need a few minutes to regroup. That goes a long way. Work on resolutions together. It may not be perfect initially, but you both must give a little. Sometimes a solution will surprise you. In fact, winning an argument is when you can come to a peaceful solution to strengthen your relationship. It's vital to solve the issue more so than to say, you are right, even if you are. Believe me, the enemy does not like marriages, especially good ones, and seeks to disrupt them whenever possible. There are so many books that are written on how disruptive the enemy is, especially if you have a strong Christian marriage. Look for things and ways that you can get along and do things together whenever possible to build that bond and that relationship. Put away the cell phones, go take a walk, have dinner without your phone out. If you need to look up something or someone calls, do it quickly and then put the phone away. You can both win the argument within a marriage if you both agree on the basics to discussion. You want a marriage that is happy. You want one that you're looking forward to seeing your husband each day, and your husband is excited to see you. You want one that will be something that you look forward to. My husband and I used to always say when we were younger, I can't wait to grow old with you. And about 5 years ago, my husband said, I think this is the growing old with you part. It finally caught up with us, and we just started laughing. As I said, in your early years of marriage, that's when you really work on these things. If you are in your middle years of marriage, look back and see what ways can you rekindle your marriage. It's important to make each other feel special and cherished. And sometimes that may be one-sided, but that's okay. Remember, the key to winning is to get along for the sake of your marriage and your children. And that is so important, especially in today's world. The kids need two parents. They need two people that are an example to them. And friends, you can do it. It may be difficult at times. You may have to ask your husband for a timeout, but don't use that as a way to run away from confronting the issues. So hopefully those keys will help you. Again, the show notes are either on your podcast app. You can click on the link, I believe, and go to the website for the rest of the show notes if it cuts off on your app. And if you have some good tips on marriage, share them with me. I'd love to hear. Take care, friends. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at MediaAngels.com and TheVintageHomeschoolMoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.